President Trump pulling $4 billion in federal funding for California's high-speed rail project. The president saying, quote, this boondoggle led by the incompetent governor of California, Gavin Newsom, his words, not mine, has cost taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars, and we have received nothing in return except cost overruns. The railroad we were promised still does not exist and never will. This project was severely overpriced, overregulated, and never delivered. Katie Zachariah is a Republican strategist, attorney, and the senior advisor for Fix California. She joins me now. Great to have you on the program, Katie. Look, this project has been an absolute disaster from the start. It was happening when I was in California like 9 trillion years ago. Your reaction to Trump shutting down the money spigot?
It's absolutely necessary. Look, it's been 16 years since Gavin Newsom set out, or since California set out on this, and it was supposed to be 800 miles. Now it's 161. It was supposed to be LA to San Francisco. Now it's Merced to Bakersfield, which nobody will take. And so Gavin Newsom has shown clearly he cannot save money, spend money well, or use the money he's been given in a way that's effective for the California citizens or American citizens. It's a waste of tax dollars.
Of course, Gavin Newsom responding, saying the following, quote, Trump wants to hand China the future and abandon the Central Valley. We won't let him. With projects like the Texas high-speed rail failing to take off, we are miles ahead of others. We're now in the track-laying phase in building America's only high-speed rail. California is putting all options on the table to fight this illegal action. But Newsom himself announced there was no path forward on this train all the way back in 2019. So why is he fighting so hard to complete this very, very tiny section of rail in the Central Valley, which, to your point, literally no human is going to take?
Well, $130 billion already, and President Trump with the boondoggle, we're going to pull $4 billion. We're not going to let you spend another tax dollar, but Gavin Newsom has made it his job to fight President Trump on every single policy that he's doing. He's earmarked tax dollars of California, $50 million, to fight the sanctuary state policies against President Trump. And so it just shows he's continuing to fight issues that are not winning issues, and anything that it takes, he'll fight President Trump on.
Speaking of fighting, that sounds familiar with one attorney general here in the state of New York. Let's go to Oklahoma, though, first to set this up. A Honduran national facing federal charges after allegedly dragging an ICE officer from his car as agents tried to arrest him. This part of a very disturbing trend. ICE agents facing a staggering 830% increase in assaults from this time last year. So what is a coalition of 21 blue states, AGs, attorneys general doing in response?
Well, I mean, they got to understand why they getting attacked like this, though. The ICE agents, look what they doing. There's plenty of videos out where they just fucking with people, harassing people, fucking detaining U.S. citizens. Like, they not going after the rapists and the murderers and shit. They not. They waiting at courthouses, waiting for their ass to come out so they can arrest them when they sitting here trying to do the right thing. So they need to gain some self-awareness, bruh. Then they walking around with masks on. Like, they straight became the biggest gang in America. No bullshit.
To help these ICE agents? The exact opposite of what they should be doing. They're urging Congress to unmask these ICE agents, making their job even that much more difficult and deadly. Writing such legislation is necessary to protect the public, ensure accountability, and preserve the reputation and effectiveness of law enforcement at every level of government. And I teased this earlier. Who is leading the charge, Katie? One, Letitia James.
Yeah, Tish James, who's always had a personal vendetta against President Trump and used her platform to get him. And within this letter, one thing that was very disturbing within this letter is they said that to unmask ICE agents will give their citizens, our citizens, an opportunity to push back against the government. I'm sorry, these people who are being deported are not our citizens. They don't have a recourse to push back against the government. And so they're coming out with an overt lie from the outset that these people should be able to have recourse against the government.
And that lie seeps its way into all of their talking points when it talks about their rights, when it talks about due process. You always need to parse the language because citizens and illegals have different rights and different privileges and different obligations of the government to deal with them. Before we let you go, is it going to take, sadly, I hate to go to negative town here, but the killing of an ICE officer for these Democrat politicians to change their tune? Or, Katie, would they even change their tune following a tragedy like that?
After what we've seen from the violent rhetoric of the Democrat Party, I don't know if they've changed their tune, and I hope it doesn't get that far. Tom Homan came out and said they have the ability to defend themselves. Our U.S. attorney has empowered them in California to be able to defend themselves. So we hope it doesn't get that far, but the Democrats should come out and say, support ICE, and these violent uprisings will go away.
Katie Zachariah, I know you're in California.
Bro, why the fuck would they get on there and be like, support ICE? Like I just said, look what the fuck they doing. Like, I don't know what the fuck these people be thinking. What kind of motherfucking shit they be on. But this shit is just crazy, man. See what else we got. Breaking photo I show aided injury during attempted. We'll call Brandon at the price. We'll call me before, man. Let's see about some Trump and Epstein shit. Because I know he was pissing off his supporters. Trump's Epstein.
President Trump today angrily denounced the support of anyone in his ranks who cares about the Jeffrey Epstein case, aka a significant number of people in his base who, by the way, elected Trump after he pledged to release the Epstein files, after his surrogate Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson that billionaires were backing Kamala Harris because they were terrified Trump would release the Epstein list. Now, this latest kerfuffle started this morning with Trump's post on Truth Social, where he continued to falsely assert that the Epstein files are some sort of Democratic ploy. He wrote, quote, "Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore," unquote. This same energy continued in the Oval Office this afternoon, where the president said this.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had.
It's, of course, not a waste of time to care about the fact that dozens, if not hundreds, of survivors of rape, assault, trafficking, and more have been denied justice in the Epstein case from the jump. Aside from Epstein's own vile crimes, Epstein allegedly helped other powerful people in his orbit get away with heinous actions, including sex abuse, sex trafficking, in some cases the sexual abuse of minors. Here's just one portion of a victim impact statement surrounding the trial for Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. One victim, who went by the pseudonym Kate, wrote to the judge, quote, "I witnessed Maxwell's relentless and insatiable drive to meet the sexual needs of Epstein at any cost to the vulnerable girls and women upon whom she preyed and fed to Epstein and other powerful men. The many acts that were perpetrated on me by Epstein, including rape, strangulation, and sexual assault, were never consensual and would have never occurred had it not been for the cunning and premeditated role of Ghislaine Maxwell played." Kate went on to write that the consequences of what Maxwell did have been far-reaching in her life. And this has been, let's just say it, this has been a huge about face for Trump. He's the dog who caught the bus. On a podcast just last fall, he promised he would release the Epstein files.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them. Yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Back in 2019, in Trump's first term, he retweeted a baseless conspiracy theory suggesting that Epstein's death was tied to Bill and Hillary Clinton. The Epstein case is sadly not a hoax, as the president now claims. So what's going on here? Let's go to CNN's Kristen Holmes at the White House. Kristen, Trump is going from saying everyone should move on from Epstein to saying he doesn't even want the support.
What's going on is Trump is full of shit, and he know he full of shit. And now he done pissed off his base. Like, I mean, he's still gonna have supporters. He's still gonna have some dumb motherfuckers who still gonna support him. But if you look on Twitter or True Social, they straight letting his ass have it. His supporters are letting him have it on there. Because shit, he be promising shit. He be promising this shit. The Ukraine, I'ma end that on day one. And then the line about ending the Pakistan, what was Pakistan and India? India was pissed too when he said that. They like, what the fuck? Nigga ain't in shit. He be taking credit and then he like to over exaggerate shit. 50 million illegals cross the border, 100 million illegals. We bringing in $100 billion in terror. We bringing in 200 trillion. Like, man, come on, man. But he says this shit, and you have people that straight up believe him when he said it, without even fact checking him. Like, I don't understand.
The support of people who care about this. That's a lot of people. We should note that in the not so recent past, those who cared about this case have included his son, Don Jr., his vice president, J.D. Vance, his attorney general, Pam Bondi, FBI director, Kash Patel, and on and on. What's the thinking here?
Jake, I'm not really sure there is thinking behind this. A lot of this seems to be unforced errors by President Trump. I've talked to a number of people around him who do believe that they are understanding where the base stands, but it still seems unclear that President Trump realizes what a big deal this is to so many of his supporters. And just to give some clarity here, it's not just the people who voted for them. It's also the big personalities on the right and some really who had never voted before, now part of the MAGA movement, who drew in their supporters, people who have podcasts, YouTube shows, to get them to the polls to vote for Donald Trump in order to release the Epstein files. And part of this, what I'm hearing from these supporters, is they don't really understand why exactly he's made this about face. Here's what he said in the Oval Office today.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work.
A couple of other things he said, that he has lost faith in certain people because of their belief in these so-called Epstein files, that the Republicans have been duped. Again, as you noted, some of the people who've been placed in the highest roles in his administration, I guess, are some of these same people who were allegedly duped by this quote-unquote Epstein hoax, as President Trump has said. Now, our colleague DJ Judd just caught up with President Trump as he was leaving an event and asked about whether or not he would appoint a special counsel or consider appointing a special counsel. He said he has nothing to do with it. And let's be clear, if someone was going to appoint a special counsel, it would, of course, have to go through the Attorney General's office. But as we have reported time and time again since Donald Trump took office, the Justice Department is operating the least independently that it has in modern history. So, of course, President Trump would have everything to do with a decision about a special counsel here, Jake.
All right, Kristen Holmes, thanks so much. Let's discuss this with two former Trump White House officials. Mike Dubke, former Trump White House communications director in the first term. Jim Schultz, former Trump White House lawyer. Jim, you've worked with Trump on a very personal level. Explain to us the mindset here and what you would advise him as his lawyer to say right now.
So in terms of what folks are thinking here, and you know, not to get to the crux of this, I think we need to be more concerned, less concerned about MAGA, more concerned about the victims associated with these cases.
I agree.
Right? When you saw people walking around with the binders outside of that, I thought I handled human trafficking cases on behalf of victims on a pro bono basis. I'm thinking, what are the victims thinking at this moment with people walking outside the White House, reporters with these binders purportedly containing information? They don't know what's in those binders. They don't know what's going to come out. And purportedly containing information, the trauma, we have to think about the trauma that those folks are going through, those women are going through, who had been abused, who had been purportedly trafficked, and what their reaction is to that issue. And I think we're losing all of that. The news media is losing it. The White House is losing it. The Attorney General lost it when they paraded around with those binders. And I think MAGA is losing sight of that too. And the Democrats in Congress are doing the same thing. They're politicizing something that's traumatic for folks, and this needs to be governed by and through the court system, and judges need to help make these determinations by and through the Department of Justice if it's something that's going to be released.
I totally agree with you, and that's why we interviewed the attorney for some of the victims yesterday. It's why I already mentioned them. Mike Duffy, let me ask you, notwithstanding the point that Jim just made, this is now a political crisis for the president of some sort, at least with his base. Laura Loomer, who is a conspiracy theorist and somebody that I'd rather not even mention, but she has the ear of the president. I mean, she suggested some firings in the National Security Council, and he followed through. She told Politico that she worries that his handling of the Epstein case could consume his presidency. She said, quote, obviously this is not a complete hoax, given the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison in Florida for her crimes and activities with Jeffrey Epstein, who we know is a convicted sexual predator. Loomer told Politico, that's all true. This is why I said, and I'll reiterate it again, the best thing the president can do is appoint a special counsel to handle the Epstein files investigation. Again, that she sounds reasonable there. She's not a reasonable person, but still.
Well,
that
she's also a leader within this movement.
That's exactly.
And so what she says on this topic matters.
Yeah.
And to Jim's point, this is a political story now, like it or not. The courts are almost secondary to what is happening. I frankly am surprised I'm not surprised that the president doubled down or even tripled down on this, because one of the superpowers of Donald J. Trump is that he runs into fire and survives almost every time. In this instance, though, he lit this fire. Well, he didn't necessarily light this fire, but he did stoke it.
Yeah.
And as did his supporters. But they stoked it for a really good reason, because a lot of what he won on, one of the reasons that his base loves him so, is because he points to powerful individuals that have been lying to the American people. That whole story, including now sex, is wrapped up in the Epstein case. So I am surprised that he's trying to be dismissive of this at this point, but I think he's playing to his strength, which is running into this. I don't think it will be successful. Yeah. At some point, we're going to have, you are going to continue to talk about it, as will others. The Democrats will not let this go. And frankly, a good chunk of his supporters will not let this go. And this is going to affect the midterm elections. And this is now a purely political story.
Bauer Tools give you the confidence to take on challenging home projects. With
Boy. Man, I don't know what to say.
President Trump suggests.
I just don't know what to say or think or nothing. Like, I believe, this is what I believe. I believe that it's powerful people on both sides of the aisle, on the left and the right, that got something to do with this Jeffrey Epstein shit. And that's why, because I was trying to think, like, why didn't Biden and them release the files and shit? And that's my only answer. Biden and them not releasing it, Trump and them not releasing it, even after promise, but they getting all this backlash because they actually promised that they will. And now they did a straight up about face 180 on their ass. That shit, man. But I'm gonna let that go for now. I'll be back in the morning, true and blue, you know, ready to get it in once again. This your boy, Reggie Red Reactions. Fuck with me. I'm going to be going through videos raw, uncut, no edits, and just me videos and giving my opinion. Fuck with me.